And hello, everybody, and welcome to round 5 here in Group 2, Season 10. I already got a whole bunch of chats flying in. Viper hasn't doing well. Zrosky, a little bit more pessimistic, and hey, hello. But yeah, should be a good one. Portugal, definitely one of my more favorite circuits on this calendar. And again, give me 1 second. But yeah, of course, countdown coming to a close now. But of course, it is round 5 of this LSR Season 10. Of course, round 5 of 11, cutting around 1 round short. And we're opening up very wet here, as that looks to be heavy rain for qualifying, as we are now underway. As if you'll give me just a brief moment, I can re-invite Gabicho. There we are. So Gabicho should be getting back in. And of course, we are waiting on Delta. Viper is saying that's not good. I didn't see if you indicated what exactly the weather would be. Viper is still saying he's still on the back on a black screen. As the countdown has now started, so that should indicate, so everybody should be okay here. But it is going to be a dry race, according to Zrosky. So looking at what will probably be a mixed-up grid here, as you have full wet tires, as you can see on the timing tower over there. And I'll also pull up the track map. But yeah, Portimao, definitely one of my more favorite circuits, though definitely a challenging circuit to race. Of course, you got loads of undulation here. We have actually a couple of drivers looking at intermediates, as you can see, from that timing tower there. Yeah, it should be very, very interesting. But give me a second. I can pull up some of those track stats. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 9, 10, 11, 12. But yeah, I believe it's 17 corners here. Again, don't know the exact track distance off the top of my head. But yeah, a number of drivers are away. Go and jump to the Sauber of some guy, slapping on that intermediate compound tire. And Gavito should be with us in a couple of seconds here. And again, hopefully should go well. But yeah, Portugal, definitely going to be, you're going to see a lot more higher downforce here. But definitely very tricky circuit to get right. A very tricky circuit as well to overtake on, just due to a lot of that fast-flowing nature. But, again, in my opinion, makes it a very fun circuit to drive. Of course, you got the challenge of, I believe that's turn number 8, Pure Purple saying, see y'all for Group 3. Again, should be another interesting one there. We had a very interesting race in Group 1 yesterday, although sadly plagued by some connection difficulties. Ended up being a Sauber 1-2, which was a big result for the team that going into that race was 7th in the Constructors' Championship. And if you watched that race as well, you got to hear my voice twice, as unfortunately I was also a victim of some of those little technical gremlins. But yeah, some guy looking to get underway will stick with the Sauber as he looks to throw down the first lap as we come up the hill and down the pit straight into turn 1. Of course, going to be very different lap times that we see in this qualifying session versus what's in the actual race session, but it doesn't change the fact that turn 1 certainly going to be a challenge for a number of drivers. Very easy to just bleed out that little bit too wide, get a little bit over that curve, and just invalidate your lap. Just want to carry as much speed into 2 before getting on the brakes for 3. Got a very challenging uphill left-hander of 4, where you got to really be careful as you're getting the power down. Make sure that you don't lose that back end as you come over that crest. Got what is probably one of the best overtaking spots on the circuit, that little downhill hairpin into 5, where you also have to be very conscious of how you get on that exit, running up into 6. Turns 7 and 8, again, definitely some of the more challenging corners on this circuit because of that elevation change. You, of course, are going kind of hit the bottom through 6 and then climb through 7 and 8. And then you got 9, that left-hander, get on the brakes through 10 and 11. Really want to take the apex a little bit later right there. There is our 20th driver in Delta Rhine. So definitely good to see a full grid. Of course, get it slowed all the way down for turn 13, and there is Gabicho as well. So that should give us that full grid. And then, of course, 3 corners left to go, 15, 16, and 17. So let's see where some guy comes across the line at, braving it on that intermediate compound. As he'll power now up the hill and to the line. That lap time going to be a 30.3, again, on a set of inters. So I have to see how some of the wet tires fall in. Viperize, 30.3. Formula Jonah, 32.3. Ozan with a solid lap time, 30.356. But those inters showing to be pretty quick here in the early stages. We got LSR Stratting coming around the final corner. Strakasaur goes about a second quicker on that intermediate compounded tire. Here comes Stratting now. Only a 30.7 from him. So the inner's potentially the quicker tire if you can manage to find that lap around here. We're jumping on board with Zroski now, also on the wets. And also keep in mind that a bunch of drivers probably going to be out on track for a significant portion of time here. I'm just trying to get as many laps on the board as possible. As, there might be a couple drivers thinking, hey, within one lap, these tires might not get into the operating window that I want them at. But here comes Zroski to the line, and he's found some time on the wets. That's a 29.4 flat, so just clear of Strakasaur's 29.409. And about 1.3 seconds clear of his teammate is a great first lap time. Some guy, meanwhile, is already improving. You can see him on a second push lap. I believe he does have a V-carb up ahead. I believe that is Alexis Beast who we will jump to. It is, who will have a lap time here. Again, also on the wet compound. He'll have the Sauber coming to the hill just behind him. Alexis Beast, third quickest. Some guy to the line, and he'll go quicker. That's 28.944. As those inners starting to come into their own. Viperize goes quicker, 29.480. That's enough to slot into P4. Ozan to the line. He'll jump up just ahead of Viperize. Ferrari to the line behind as well. I believe that's Don Uka just getting started. See a Ferrari and a Williams coming to the line now. Actually, that is Don who would come to the line. That's going to be about a 134. The Williams behind him seemingly not significantly improving. Again, very tough to kind of keep track of a number of these drivers. Isha to the line, he's just getting underway. That's an Aston Martin diving into the pit. So we'll stay on board with Masquerade coming around the final corner now. So can the Sauber potentially join his teammate towards the front of the field? He'll go 9th quickest. So a solid first lap time. And just a shade behind Formula Jonah's 130.5. Apologies there if there is mic issues. Definitely trying to keep eye on that as much as possible. That's Dawn going around at the hairpin. So under traction there, the mistake come up. Kendrick's, meanwhile, minute 0.9 through the first 2 sectors. So should be a fairly competitive lap time for the reigning Group 2 champion. Kendrick's up over the hill line. It's a 30.3. So again, another solid lap. So a solid lap time there from Kendrick's to slot him temporarily up into 8th position. Some guy still out there. Alexis Beast going to go even faster. That's 28.657. Some guy, I think, backed off on that one. So we'll see if he continues to push. Or Zroski, meanwhile, still finding some pace. Viperize goes 3rd quickest for the Hacks, and I believe that's the McLaren of Ozan coming up over the hill behind him. And he'll go 4th this time. So Viperize and Ozan about trading lap times right now. Ollie Jelly, 8th quickest. Again, as you can see, very busy track right now, but 16 drivers all out there. Here comes Stratting up the hill into the line. That'll be 7/10, but it's only an improvement to 8th fastest. You can see a couple drivers, I think, diving into the pits, looking at the intermediate compounded tire right now, as we could really just be in a bit of a crossover point here, just depending on how many cars are out on track. Again, I don't know off the top of my head how much track evolution there is in the wet conditions on this game. Here comes Avenue OK to the line, and that's a solid 7th place for the Mercedes outfit as of right now. As Zroski now finds that extra bit of pace, again, just a shade faster, 28.635, as the Red Bull and the V-Carb drivers going at it here. Some guy, meanwhile, you can see that purple sector popping up down below in Sector 2. Again, didn't quite catch what these and what the ultimate time was through that second sector. But again, looking to take the fight to those drivers out in front. Has he managed to find about 3/10? Going to try to keep it to the inside as he comes up the hill to the line. And it's a massive lap from some guy, 27.598. And those inters definitely seeming like the quicker tire as of this stage. As again, a number of drivers coming in. Ozan diving in. Viperize diving in. That's Ollie Jelly, who currently sits 11th coming up the hill into the line. It's going to be a 29.483 from him. So it's all lap time to find 7th place. As he looks to continue to improve there. I believe there was Gavicho coming up the hill as, being able to get through the DC. He'll slot into 9th. So very good from him. Easter or Guardian Knight coming up over the hill of the line. That lap time's not going to be improvement, but he'll likely go again. I believe it's the V-carb of Owen blasting away behind him. Or Straxor still underway. We got the second pass of DRS Maestro coming up the hill to get his first lap time on the board. And it's a great lap time from him, 28.579. Of course, still a decent way off of some guys, 27.598. But still a lap time good enough to slot him into P2 with about 8.5 minutes remaining in the session. So DRS Maestro finding a very, very solid lap time. Delta is making her way through Sector 1. Kendricks has found 6/10 through 2 sectors, and he's going to fling that Alpine through the final 2 corners. You can see that back end starting to step out a little bit, but a good catch from him. The man who currently sits 15th will jump back up into the top 10. That's a lap time that's good enough for 8th quickest, as Kendricks finds a second in his lap. Alexis Beast, meanwhile, is going to find about 4/10, but again, not good enough for an improvement there. But again, just looking to close that gap and maybe try to keep some momentum going. You can see a little bit of a drier line starting to form out on track now. So potentially those who can really stay tight to that line are going to find a lot of advantage on the enders. Viperize has sought to that intermediate, as has Ozan. Again, doesn't seem that too many drivers out on a massive push lap right now. Owen does seem to be one of them, and he'll get a nice little tow up to hill from the Mercedes out in front, and that lap time good enough for 2nd quickest. So V-carbs 2 and 3. That's 27.9 from Owen on what is likely a little bit heavier fuel. So some guy potentially going to have a bit of a challenge up here. Alexis Beast has found 3/10 through 2 sectors. And again, that's still on the set of wet compound tires. Who was that just jumping up the field? That may have been Guardian Knight, I think, just crossing the line. That was not. I'm not sure exactly what happened there, but we'll jump back to Alexis Beast. Of course, yellow flag. Down there at turn 1, drivers coming out the pits going to have to be a little bit careful just to make sure that they stay out of the way of everybody. Of course, Alexis Beast now coming out of the final corner, just about stays within track limits there. You can see the Alpine coming over the hill just ahead. Big wiggle there, though, from Alexis Beast. Coming up over the hill, and he'll actually dive in the pits here, so potentially losing some lap time. And that was Kendricks ahead of him, also diving into pits. You have Viperize on an out lap. And again, you can see a bit more of that dry line starting to form. Viperize underway. Seiya right behind him, 31.6. He's pushing behind. Only driver without a time on the board is Don Uka. But of course, 17 drivers on track, so still a lot of improvements to be made. DRS Maestro has found 3/10 in the first 2 sectors. He's now pulled out half a second. So DRS Maestro in the halves, getting considerably quicker. Strakosaur goes top of the field, 26.981 for the Williams. As, those inters are finding significant amounts of pace right now. And DRS Maestro now potentially have a shot at pole. And, of course, we do have points for qualifying. As here comes DRS Maestro now up the hill. Can he have a shot at pole? He'll go 4th fastest. He'll find 6/10. It's Viperize DCing from the session. So if you'll allow me 1 second, hopefully we can get him back in. Again, apologies on that front. Just some of the challenges behind having a game on servers that are as well maintained as EA's. Viperize may have to reset there as well. But the track a little bit more quiet than it has been. Of course, you got 2 drivers coming around the final corner there in Pancakes, and I believe that's a Red Bull. That is, I believe, Srusky getting underway with a lap. So he'll have a nice little bit of clean track out ahead of him. Avenue OK putting up what I believe should be a personal best in that first sector. Got a couple other drivers coming to the line. Seiya, again, 19th quickest. I believe that was Delta going 10th. No, that was not Delta going 10th. Who was that jumping? Actually, that was Formula Jonah going 8th quickest. Again, just trying to keep an eye on exactly which drivers are improving. A little bit of a challenge. Gabby Joe going to dive into the pits, likely to swap for a set of intermediate compound tires. Stratting, surprisingly down there in 17th, as he's been on pole multiple times, but hasn't validated there. So definitely going to be interesting to kind of figure out how potentially aggressive he went with his setup. But Strakosaur with a great showing as of right now, and what's been a bit of a struggle here in the early part of this season for him. Here comes DRS Maestro up over the hill into the line. That's not going to be an improvement, so he'll go again. Ozan, meanwhile, has jumped up into 5th place, as I've been discussing some of the other drivers. Make that 6th, as Avnio K goes 2nd fastest for Mercedes, 27.431. So Strakasaur still with a bit of a comfortable advantage, half a second right now, back to all of the other drivers. The rain does seem to have lightened up rather significantly, though. As again, if you jump on board, you can see just how much more of a dry line, or how much drier that racing line has become. Ozan, though, making his way through the final couple of corners. And he's on for a big improvement as well here. His teammate just up the road ahead of him. That's Formula Jonah going 4th quickest, 27.618. Might have gotten a little bit of a tow as well, but Ozan going to go that little bit faster, 27.605. Very solid there. Some guy, though, improving in the first sector. Yeah, of course, that is definitely something that I've, really haven't had the chance to kind of talk about, is that it'll depend on how much all the drivers opted to kind of attack with their setups. Some guy, meanwhile, up about 3.5 tenths right now. He'll have to find something else. But yeah, Viperez, just mentioning in chat, that'll be interesting to consider if at all, some of these drivers have compromised their setups to try and get quicker in the wet. DRS Maestro, though, goes to the top of the field, 20.6.960 from the Haas. Some guy chucking that Sauber through the final 2 corners. Might get a little bit of a tow from his teammate up at the front, but only good enough for his 3rd fastest. But it's a close fight out at the top, 27.0 for some guy, as he looks to go for provisional pole with time winding down. Ozan, meanwhile, finding about half a tenth through 2 sectors, so he should have at least something of an argument, as Swarovski goes top of the field, and he's now half a second clear, 26.444, as the track definitely continuing to get faster as the rain begins to abate here. Of course, you got the McLarens kind of both together right now, Ozan and Seau. Seau, surprisingly, on the wet compound with just 2 minutes left to go. Here comes Ozan to the line. That lap time only good enough for 5th. But again, still super tight from 2nd all the way down to 5th, separated by about 1/10 of a second. Again, number of drivers diving in. Kendricks jumping up into, I believe, P9 on that last lap. And you can see a number of drivers trying to stay out of the way as people try to get set for final laps. Ollie Jelly invalidated his lap. He's starting to get underway. Seau coming up the first sector timing marker. He's found a 10th, but he's got to find a lot more, especially being the only driver of the field right now out on the wet compound of tires. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. God Pancakes, meanwhile, found a 2nd on that last lap. He'll probably continue to push, but he's lost a 10th in that first sector. Of course, sitting at the tail end of the field. But everybody going to be starting their laps around now are going to be starting their last laps of the session. So the likes of that Mercedes and Ferrari just coming out now. I believe that's Dawn and Avnio K are going to be at big risk of not being able to get a lap in at all. Strakasaur and I believe that's one of the Saubers able to get out of the way, and the Mercedes also heading off track to make sure it can stay out of the way. We'll try to see who would be, trying to calculate here who would be on their on the final lap of the session. Delta should get one in. Pancakes will almost certainly get one in. So we'll try to jump to Gab. Of course, got Ollie Jelly and Guardian Knight behind him. So it's going to be tight, just trying to stay out of the way at this point for a number of these drivers. DRS Maestro, Ozan, Formula Jonah, all confirmed to not improve, as they will be out of this qualifying session. But it's going to be close for Guardian Knight. Of course, can't see the exact timing marker because it'll be 3, 2, 1, and that'll do it for qualifying. So DRS Maestro is going to be 2nd. Guardian Knight will not get a lap in. He will not start better than P14. Alexis Beast, meanwhile, has found over a 2nd through 2 sectors, so we'll stay on board with him. He's found about 1.3, got a couple of cars up ahead. I believe that's one of the Williams. No ABS absolutely killed Maestro. So that's some of the issue there. I got a Williams coming up the hill. That's Strakasaur, who will slot into third. That's a Salvador Sun guy, who I think goes fourth. Alexis Beast gets close to that pole position, but only goes second. Can his teammate do anything? Owen slots into third. So great final showings on laps from both V-Carb drivers. Avenue K has invalidated. Masquerade coming through the final couple of corners. I believe it's DRS Maestro and Viperize, fourth and eighth. Not sure who crossed the line there in the Haas from the Mercedes. Here comes Masquerade to the line. Can he find anything? He will not. He'll go 12th quickest. Gabicho is found 4/10s and, of course, is still on that lap. Delta up 1.2 seconds. And her teammate behind on a push lap as well. Zrosky has not improved. Delta jumps up into fourth. That's a great lap in the dying stages. Her teammate of Pancakes and Stratting now 19th and 20th looking to push behind. Here comes Pancakes up the hill. It'll be Stratting just behind him. Where's Pancakes jump up to? Pancakes goes 16th. Stratting goes 9th. And that means it's going to be one driver left across the line, and it's Gabicho. Can he find anything in that final sector? Up a second through two parts of the lap, and he'll make it up into the top 10. He'll start in 10th, but it's Zrosky on pole here in Portugal, and it's Alexis Beast and Owen with a nice one, too. Delta, DRS Maestro, Strakasaur, Some Guy, Ozan, Stratting, and Gabicho will be in the top 10 as we move into the feature race, which, if you'll allow me a quick reminder, I can give that to our drivers. All right, everybody who can hear me, please remember that we have a 2-minute break on the grid. Once we are on the grid and looking at race strategies, do not ready up immediately. Do not ready up immediately. Stratting will be the one to ready up. But yeah, still a very tight grid. Less than a second separating the top 12. Less than a second and a half separating the top 15, which is really promising to see in what were very tricky conditions. But of course, going to be moving into the race now, which now really opens up strategy options. Of course, definitely surprising to see the likes of Ollie Geliseo and Isha towards the bottom, but I think that shows that the Inter definitely became that fastest tire. But yeah, now I guess we can kind of talk to strategy. Is the track going to be very different in dry conditions? Yeah, definitely going to be very interesting, and definitely a lot easier to see some battles as, bright and shiny in this one. But of course, the run down to turn one, very important to just, especially with the kind of nature. You kind of got that downhill, you got some of that compression, and you want to carry a lot of speed through turn one, so pole is incredibly valuable here, considering you get the good start. But talking tire strategy, we're likely to see all sorts of tire strategies in this one. It will all be one-stops, considering that it is only a 50% race. But exactly how all of our drivers want to go about it, considering that we'd be green flag from end to end, which certainly is not guaranteed, is definitely a possibility. Soft to medium and medium to soft, especially with the amount of new tires that our drivers are going to have at their disposal, is probably going to be the preferred strategy. Though you would have to be a little bit cognizant of what your tire temperatures are, what your setup is. So that could change it. We could see a couple of drivers looking for a medium to hard or a soft to hard strategy, depending on what they think is more valuable. Undercut definitely going to be a little bit, definitely going to give a little bit of a benefit here. Considering, that this track is very dependent on some tire wear. But that doesn't mean that, if you go to that harder compound, it'll be great immediately because you go right into turn one. And especially kind of based on that pit exit, you're going to lose a decent bit of time. So the overcut is definitely going to be a bit of a, it is definitely going to be an interesting thing to consider there. Viperize, sadly, disconnecting there again. So hopefully that hasn't caused the countdown to begin. It very well might have. If it does, hopefully Viperize can get back in and take control, because 2 rounds of Portugal in a row with some connection issues would not be stellar. But again, we're just waiting to get up on the grid and see those 5 red lights get ready to go out. But again, definitely going to be interesting to see what some of those tire strategies become. But of course, Zrosky going to be under pressure here right off the jump, as he has both V-carbs right behind him. Yeah, I think I ran out of things to say. So, ran a little bit out of things today. Again, hoping that we do get Viperize back in for the start of this race. Again, hopefully one of the improvements that we see for next year's game is some half-decent servers. But, yeah, some of that is hopefully not an issue that persists. Again, it shouldn't be too much longer before we get underway. Of course, if you're not one of the drivers and you have any predictions for this race, definitely feel free to throw them in the chat here. Again, Viperize hoping that you can take control. You might have to wait a couple of seconds before the actual race start to be able to do that. So hopefully it shouldn't be too much of an issue there. I mean, it shouldn't, but again, we did have multiple instances of that yesterday where we tried to take control, and it did not work. But we are on the grid and ready to go. 3, 4, and 5 lights. And we are underway here in Portugal. Seems to be a good get away from Zarowski, but it seems to be just as good of a breakaway from Alexis as the two that started on the front row. Looking to go side by side into turn 1. It's also a great start from Delta there, jumping up into third. It's going to be Alexis taking the lead into turn 1. Delta looking to overtake Zarowski again, who opted for that hard compound tire. Viperize with a bit of an issue off the grid as Viperize's AI has for some reason stopped. As I think we have... Yeah, I think we have had an issue there. Viper is saying he's crawling, as we will have a quick virtual safety car here, as we do have a number, as I believe, Ollie, Jelly, Sayal, Pancakes, and Isha all coming together. But Viper is finally underway, but he's lost a load of time. Not sure exactly what happened there as well. There's a big stack up here, a big concertina effect, as Viper has disconnected again. But there was a big stack up, I think, behind Stratting there. Of course, Viper is now going to be hoping for a full safety car at some point in this one, but Alexis with a great start off the grid will, of course, pull up detail to see the exact tire, left and fixed it. Okay, so again, hopefully you can use that same invite to get back in, but there is your look at tires. And yeah, Zarowski going for the hard. Sayal picks up a drive-through for speeding under VSC, so from starting 19th, that's going to make his day even worse. Alexis is going to run a little bit wide there, but Delta going to be looking to put the pressure all over him as they look to make a bit of a breakaway. Here comes DRS Maestro, as well as they come up the hill to start lap number 2. And it's, of course, going to be Alexis starting that fastest lap. DRS Maestro finds a way past Zarowski into turn 1, so it's a Haas taking the lead. The Aston Martin looking to find a way through, but not quite having enough to pace this time around. And I think maybe just picking up a track limits warning there. Looks down the inside into turn 3, tries to make the bold move there. Not able to get it done, though. Looking for the cutback here out of turn 4, though, and we'll have the inside line. Delta down the inside here on lap number 2, and it's the Aston Martin up into lead up here in Portugal. You can see 2x2 behind. That's the Williams of Strakasaur ghosting Zarowski all the way down into 5th place now, as he looks to try and defend that, hold that inside line, and have contact there, and gonna get loose, had to keep it too tight, and I think clattered into that curb, and now he's gonna fall under pressure from Ozan. And it's Ozan and Owen swapping places as well. Abney OK looking to go around the outside of some guy, looking to make it maybe 2 moves in one corner, but not able to get it done. Zarowski and Owen now battling side by side, as Owen has had the greatest start either, as he's now dropped all the way down into 5th, as once again, Viper has rejoined. Hopefully he can make it back. Dawn has had a spin there, so he's looking to now recover the car. We'll move on to lap number 3, and it's been a great start for the likes of Delta and Alexis, as now they're already starting to pull that. They've broken DRS to the cars behind. DRS Maestro not able to get in the zone. Strakasaur was able to keep with DRS Maestro through the detection point, however. So he's able to get underway. Kendricks and Sayal both diving into the pits in the early stages here. But a great start from Delta to go from 4th on the grid to the lead, really taking full advantage of those soft tires and that inside line to have a great start as we make our way through the turn 6 hairpin for the fourth time. Abney OK looking to make the move. Stratting seemed to maybe get boxed out a little bit there, as he's now battling with Joan. You can see a couple of cars going a little bit off track. Again, bit of a wiggle there from Abney OK. That could lead some guy to have a bit of an attack. He peeks to the inside, up over the hill into 11, not able to get that move done. As once again, Viperize has left the session, so I don't think he is able to take control. So again, kind of connection issues, of course, plaguing this game. With the top two making a bit of a comfortable breakaway right now, Alexis is doing a really good job at sticking with Delta, and as well making a breakaway from DRS Maestro behind, who I think really missing out Viper Racing. He has to restart his PlayStation, so I think just trying to get back in, still give himself an opportunity, but half a second is the gap between Alexis and Delta for the lead here in Portugal to head down the hill and enter turn one, but that DRS advantage not quite going to be enough for Alexis, and he'll hold back as we make our way into the start of lap number 4. Behind them, though, again, you can see a number of cars looking to try and find ways through. There's some guy looking down the inside of Abney OK into turn 3, and some guy looking to get that move done. He'll, of course, have the outside line through turn 4, which is going to hold Abney up. Zrosky goes round, though, and a bunch of drivers having to check up. Who picked up damage there? Somebody picked up damage. There was definitely a front wing end plate that went flying. I cannot quite see from this angle who that was that picked up the damage, but it looked like Zrosky coming up the hill, just those hard tires being the wrong gambit for him. Straxor, meanwhile, up into third. So now he's the one who will have the job of trying to chase down Alexis and Delta. Ozan, meanwhile, kind of comfortably in 6th, but of course going to be looking to bridge that gap as well on the hard compound tire. Stratting, meanwhile, has worked his way up in the top 10. Ollie Jelly having a nice race right now. He's worked his way up in the 13th. Guardian Knight finding a way down the inside of Pancakes up over the hill and into Sector 3. But Pancakes looking to be braver on the brakes around the outside. Some nice battling here as Aston Martin and Mercedes here both getting a little bit loose and beating and banging here. So we'll have to keep an eye on how that pans out. We got to overtake for third here as DRS Maestro using that DRS advantage to find a way down the inside of Strakosaur. But again, they just continue to lose time to the two cars out in front as Delta and Alexis continue to just kind of inch away up here at the front. I think, yeah, Isha finding his way past Pancakes down there for 15th. But again, these two at the front, I think, comfortable to just kind of have their own race here. Strakosaur finding his way down the inside of DRS Maestro with DRS advantage. Owen as well using that move to slide down the inside of the Haas. As VCARB looks to continue their strong showing, to allow Ozan into the fight, and of course, the kind of trail of cars behind him all the way back to Masquerade down there in 12th. Here on lap number 5. But been a lot of action here in the early stages, just not as much for the lead. Portugal, a very challenging spot to get circuit to get overtakes done. Got to be very patient throughout the lap. Really kind of wait for some of those DRS zones. Viperize is back, so at least giving himself an opportunity here to kind of carry on with this race and give himself the opportunity to potentially pick up some points despite being a fair chunk off. Here comes again an overtake for P3. It's going to be Owen this time, though, looking around the outside of Straxor, and he'll get that move done comfortably by the time they make their way into turn number 1. So it'll be VCARB's 2 and 3 temporarily, as Alexis is now closed up quite comfortably to Delta. And again, we'll go ahead and hide that UI there, see them as they come down the hill. But again, Alexis, I think, just comfortable to sit behind right now. Strakosaur looking down the inside of the VCARB of Owen, though, and much like we saw last lap, Strakosaur using that second DRS zone to his advantage to kind of hold on to this P3. As again, Strakosaur, who was Joint Constructors Championship, came second in the Group 2 Drivers Championship last season, has really not had the greatest opening to this one. So again, looking to reverse those fortunes at this point in the season. But of course, got the pressure all over the back of him. You can see a number of cars all, just kind of holding onto the back of this train, stratting back there in 11th as well, looking to try and potentially get some moves done. But I think we're definitely at a point in this race where, maybe those mediums are going to start to become equal to the softs, potentially. Of course, both tires are going to have a lot of life in them. So that's certainly something to consider as this race continues. As we do start lap number 7, Alexis again closing up to the back of Delta in front, trying to battle for the lead. Here comes Owen once again, looking down the inside into turn 1. Once again, he'll get that move done, and Strakosaur will tuck back in as we run in turn 3, and Formula Jonah the first to pick up a track limits penalty in this one. Ozan and DRS Maestro battling, and it'll be Ozan finding a way through. Yellow flag in sector 3. That's going to be Guardian Knight retiring in the pits, it seemed like. What happened with Guardian Knight? That is a very odd incident. But it will bring out a full safety car here. But Guardian Knight with an incident on the pit lane, where, yeah, I'm not sure entirely what happened there. I just saw that Mercedes on the, hitting that inside wall. You could see it briefly before that car disappeared. But again, that's great news for the likes of for those drivers that pit early or had issues. Zrusky, Pancakes, Viperize, Kendricks, Don, and Sayal all diving into the pits in those early stages. But as well, it's an opportunity for those who started on the soft compound tires to potentially get that free pit stop. The big losers here are the drivers that started on the medium, or are really the drivers that started on that medium compound. Because now, that is not a potential tire you can go to later. Because you have to use those two separate sets of tire. So Sayal diving into the pits. Delta is going to dive in, as will Alexis. So Sayal diving into the pits here. We'll see if he ends up going a lap down, as it does seem that everybody going to be diving into the pits, with the exception of Ozan, who might put his teammate at a massive disadvantage here. As Ozan going to effectively take his teammate of Sayal out of this race. As unless Ozan finds a way through, everybody else dives into the pits for that free stop and opts to slap on new compounds of tires. And so it's going to be really interesting to see who comes out in front. It is going to be Delta, followed by Alexis Piece. Strakasaur comes out 4th. Owen should come out 5th. And then it's going to be a big kind of, scramble out of the pits there. Of course, a couple of double stacks in there. Ozan actually doing a nice job to allow his teammate through to try and get that lap back. So we will still have Sayal on the lead lap here in Portugal. So it'll be 19 drivers all still on that. But yeah, Delta in second in a very good spot. Sayal actually going to pick up 10 seconds for ignoring yellow flags. So not able to get that overtake done correctly. And so he would be able to get that removed so long as it goes unserved. And Sayal going to get now a drive-through for speeding under the safety car. So yeah, that's going to... and so as I say that basically takes him out of this race. As, yeah, certainly, I think some issues there with trying to get ahead of the safety car. But Ozan, I think, with not the greatest strategy call here. And, yeah, there's Sayal again picking up a drive-through. So very odd there. I assume that Sayal must not have a Delta pop-up on his screen. That must be the cause of some of those penalties. I imagine we will see him retire here. I see his... Yeah, there he is. There is Sayal out of this race. I think just, potentially a display issue there as he picked up a third drive-through. And that'll leave us with 18 cars remaining. Of course, you got Don making his way now through Sector 1, trying to recatch the field. But again, it's Ozan now in the lead. And it's definitely interesting to see how many drivers have opted for the hard compound. I think unsurprising, considering the part in the race that we are at, and especially because of how long you would really need to nurse that medium compound of tire. Because I think that'll be really interesting to consider. But yeah, under safety car here, Mango just joining in. I think you managed to join for our first in-game Group 2 disqualification of the year. Of course, we already got our first one in Saudi Arabia for Group 1 for track limits, which definitely was interesting there. But yeah, 2 drivers out of this race. Definitely an interesting incident with Guardian Knight. I assume that we'll see something of a ticket there. But we'll either be getting back underway this lap or the next. But yeah, under safety car, after Guardian Knight's crash on the pit straight, brought out a full safety car in this one. So again, just waiting on Kendricks and Dawn to catch back. I think Kendricks taking an extra stop there to slap on the medium compound tire. But Stratton, going to be an interesting driver to watch in that Red Bull. Of course, opting for that medium compound tire. Definitely going to be, an interesting facet to see how well those tires last and see how fighty they are in the early stages. Who got pole? It was the Red Bull of Zorowski that picked up pole in a wet and intermediate condition qualifying. So definitely had a shaked up grid. And I can actually show you, because it doesn't look like we'll be getting back underway this map, some of the position changes as we reached the first stop of the race. But yeah, it was Rusky in P1. He did start on the hards, which I think was a massive mistake, as he dropped pretty quickly and then had about a half spin heading through turn 4. It's going to let him to drop all the way down to 13th as Ollie Jelly dives into the pit lane here. But yeah, it was then Alexis Beast in second and Owen in third. Both Alexis Beast had a solid start, was able to kind of take the lead into that first turn on a set of mediums, but then it was Delta Ryan able to take advantage of the softs. And again, the very kind of early stage, they're able to use that tire advantage to get out in front. And then it was really a comfortable breakaway for Delta and Alexis. There was a pretty big battle from Strachosaur down to about Stratton and Masquerade down there as to for that battle for effectively third, as we had a pretty nice DRS train going there. And then Isha had an incident down the pit straight, ended up in the inside wall, and ended up out of the race. And so that's why we're under safety car here on lap number 10. NK saying that he had an incident with Isha trying to pass him with DRS. Viperize, are you lagging around for me? At least you seem okay right now. Safety car is in this lap. So we'll get back underway here shortly. And I thought I just got pinged here. I don't believe I did. Yeah, definitely an incident there. But it is now Ozan, of course, with a tire disadvantage here, but with control of the pack. So it'll definitely be interesting to see where the driver who has yet to pit yet, and so go back to the kind of tire graphic here, will ought to take off. Of course, going to be looking to hold on to as many positions as possible, and at this point, just going to be hoping for an additional safety car. As that safety car eventually going to pull into the pit, so Ozan looking to take off a little bit early. Might have gotten a really solid jump there, as we are now ready to go back racing, and it's going to be Ozan leading us away, but Delta with a big run down the pit straight here, going to tuck in behind, and even without DRS, going to be looking to the inside into turn 1, and it's Delta Rain. I mean, with the lead there, Ozan looking to cut it back up the inside. Bit of a late brave move under braking, so Ozan still going to hold on to the lead. But again, we'll run down into turn number 5 now. And again, will Delta look to try to do the same thing here? Without DRS advantage, going to take the peak to the inside, not able to get that move done. Strachosaur, I think, also looking to do the same, but on the outside of Alexis Beast, looking for the cutback, though, as you can see there in the foreground. But again, seemingly the field pretty standard as we make our way through the first lap under green flag here. Of course, coming up the hill, this is where those kind of fresh... of course, tire temp is going to be a little bit of an issue here in the early stages. So I think that was maybe some of what Delta was thinking, but by trying to get that move done as early as possible, you can see where Ozan might be struggling a little bit more with tire wear there, running that a little bit wider. As we come to the end of Sector 2 and into Sector 3, though, DRS, of course, not going to be active down the pit straight this first time round, as Formula Jonah battling Masquerade for a top 10 spot. As they'll remain side by side, Owen with a bit of an issue. He's fallen back behind some guys. They're 2x2 through the final corner. So DRS now going to be re-enabled. And once again, we're going to see Delta looking for that move down the inside into turn 1. They'll be side by side on the way in. And that's going to be Delta trying to get it done. Going to end up squeezing Ozan to the outside. And that's going to allow Alexis Beast through into second place. Mango saying Ozan going to struggle on those hards. And of course, he still has another pit stop to do, as he has not yet stopped in this one. So he cannot go to the end of this race. But now it's Alexis Beast looking to make a move into turn 4 for the lead of this race. He'll get it done. Ozan also looking to find a way past Delta. It's going to be 3 wide here on the exit as they have a drag race up the hill. Who's going to come up front as we kind of crest over that hill and then to turn number 8? It's going to be Alexis Beast, who for the first time since lap 1 leads here in Portugal. And now with a chance to once again try and run away here at the front. DRS Maestro has also fallen off the back a little bit. Seen some issues. There was a bit of Owen and potentially Avni, as Owen dropped all the way down to the 10th. Viperize also on for a nice recovery. He's all the way up in 12th. Jonah as well, potentially having an incident. He's down into 16th now. But Ozan all over the back of Delta. And of course, both drivers going to have DRS on Alexis Beast out in front. But Alexis looking to go on a charge here. And again, hopefully no damage from some of those incidents on the Aston Martin or the McLaren. But Ozan, you can see, trying to get any and every move possible here. He's actually closing on Delta, though, with both drivers having DRS. Going to be a bit of a train potentially starting, but the top four is starting to make a breakaway. Some guy finds a way past DRS Maestro into turn one, so he now leads the train for P5. Stratting up into 7th now. Of course, you see his teammate wide in the background. Viperize has potentially had contact there into turn 3. He's going to spin and is down now into 15th. Yeah, Stratton going to be looking to navigate his way through the field on those mediums, as will Masquerade and Swarovski, but Stratton looking to get that move done. And once again, it's 3 wide on the exit. Stratton going to be stuck in the middle, though. And so, again, who's going to come out in the front? It's going to be the Haas coming out in front. It's going to be Masquerade having to take some avoiding action. Hards aren't great around here, but I think they're going to last significantly better than those mediums, because I think those mediums are going to get into significant tire wear risk the further we get into this race. But Delta still right on the back of Alexis, able to use some of that DRS advantage. And Strakasaur, of course, looking for a good results here. As you can see, Ozan has been able to kind of stick comfortably with, is going to give a little bit of a bump to the back of Delta, coming through these final couple of corners now, as Delta seemingly running a bit more in terms of straight line speed than Ozan. We can really see that on that safety car restart when that Aston Martin closed up to that McLaren so quick into turn 1. But we'll blast down into turn 1 once again. Straxor again looking to make that move. Ozan having to go a little bit defensive there from the Williams behind him, as all over the gearbox. That is Straxor, but again, still having to hold on the 4th right now. That's Pancakes and Dawn having a bit of a battle down there at the tail end of the field. There's a big spin or the big wiggle for the Haas. That's going to allow Stratton through into 6th. It would have been a big incident without ghosting. That's going to be a yellow flag in sector 1 as DRS Maestro not able to catch that car. He's now dropped all the way down into 18th. You can see that big wiggle trying to get on the power while coming up the hill, and just not able to get that move done. Again, able to get that back underway, and he will continue, but definitely big mistake there for DRS Maestro as we approach the halfway point of this race here in Portugal. As Delta picks up 3 seconds, you can see running that little bit too wide there. As Ozan, running definitely a lot more downforce than the Aston Martin. We're potentially going to struggle a little bit through those corners as Gabicho and Viperize battling away for 13th. But again, still holding on to that train, as some guy has now started to close up actually to this battle for the lead. And that would bring 15 drivers all now into a DRS train. We'll see if that Sauber opens up the rear wing down this pit straight. It will. So 15 drivers now all in a train. And 14 of them probably looking to go to the end. Kendricks finds a way past Abney K down the pit straight. Good move by the reigning Group 2 champion as Gabicho picks up a 3-second time penalty for track limits, as does Pancakes. I think potentially trying to dodge an incident with Dawn there. Here comes Ozan, though, on the exit of turn 4, looking to get a move done. He'll look down the inside here, as will Strakasaur, looking to get that move done on Delta, as Strakasaur follows through. Gabicho has left the session, as Alexis with a bit of an incident there. So not a great exit there from Alexis. Here comes some guy now looking to get the move done. But Straxor able to follow Ozan through down that inside, able to get that corner opened up. Yellow flag in sector 2. Who's that for? That's for Stratton, who's gone round. Stratton goes round at turn number 8. So again, that'll be interesting to see if that was due to contact or not post-race. But of course, definitely no way to tell as of right now. But Sauber's certainly running well in 5th and 6th. Alexis, again, now going to be under pressure here. Again, if you're Ozan, at this point, you're hoping for a safety car of some sort. But if not, you are dead in the water here, having to make that extra stop. We'll start lap number 16 here, and again, he'll close the back of Alexis, but not quite enough pace there. There's a hole behind in P2 as we start. But again, hopefully you've been enjoying this one so far. I guess to give a little bit of a sneak peek while we keep an eye on this battle is Swarovski looking to find a way past Masquerade on that medium compound tire. He'll sweep around the outside at T4 by the time we get into the braking zone down the hill. Ollie Jelly looking to make a nice move, a brave move down the inside there as well. Can he get that done? Is that they'll race up the hill. Who's going to come out in front? Look to be a little bit of wheel banging, but Masquerade able to hold on. Ollie Jelly looking to sweep around the inside at turn 8. Forces Masquerade to go a little bit deeper than he might have liked. But again, the Sauber doing a nice job on defense there. Able to hold on to P7. But as I was saying before we had a little bit of battle there, I'll give you a bit of a sneak peek into the next couple of races. Of course, we have Group 3 later on today, so definitely stay tuned for that one. We also have Baku full qualifying next week, followed by Mexico and Kona as our next 3 weekends. So definitely stay tuned for those. Subscribe if you want to be notified when we go live for those across all 3 of our groups, as well as our Le Mans Ultimate group, which takes place on Saturday. So definitely let us know if you're interested in that. Yeah, should be a couple of good ones. Of course, Baku, definitely a challenging circuit to drive, but I enjoy driving it, even if it's more than a little bit tedious. Ollie Jelly looking to find a way around the outside of Kendricks at turn 3. Can the Ferrari get what will be actually the defense done? Going to squeeze Kendricks out that little bit to the outside. And he's going to hold on to that position there. Also not the greatest exit from Zrowski, but he's found his way to split both Saubers. But it continues to be Alexis here, leading on lap 17. And again, if you're Ozan, you're just trying to keep with this pack at the front as long as possible. Those cards clearly showing that they have a lot of life, but not overwhelming pace necessarily. Though the medium tire runners really haven't found a lot of legs to them. Viperize doing a nice job, though. He's back up into the top 10. At least temporarily, he's battling with Owen as we come to the start of Sector 3. He's going to look down the inside now, as Haas looking to get something done. Looking to pick up points despite having some of those connection issues earlier. And of course, he is net in the top 10 as we look to come across the line to start lap number 18. But Viperize have a very solid recovery drive. Again, we'll blast into turn 1. Most of the front of the field looking pretty standard. I think Ozan here, who did just pick up that 3-second time penalty, is really the cork in the bottle right now. Because I think if you're Ozan, you want to push, you want to keep as much pace as possible, you want to keep as many drivers behind as possible. As he looks to maybe take a look down the inside, not going to find it on Alexis, though, who does have a brief wiggle. Strakasaur going to look around the outside, though, and can the Williams get the better exit? He can. So Strakasaur now up into P2, as Ozan having to go defensive as we run into turn number 8. But Strakasaur doing a nice job of getting that done. Again, you can see another little wiggle as Zrowski drops 2 spots down through turn number 8 and make it 3 as Kendricks finds a way through. But yeah, again, Strakasaur doing a nice job finding that little bit of space around the outside as Gavicho has been able to make it back. Again, hopefully he can retake control. It'll be 15 to go next time around. As I was saying, Ozan might just be that cork in the bottle. Look at how much pace Strakasaur and Alexis are now showing. We saw a couple of wiggles there from the V-Card. There's going to be Strakasaur all over the back of the gearbox. He's within a tenth as we get into the DRS zone. It's going to be the Williams popping to the inside. And as they come down the hill, it looks to me maybe briefly side by side. Strakasaur going to have to take a bit of a tighter line. So Alexis is going to look to put it back up the inside to turn 2. And it's a great little defensive move. Can he hold it through turns 3 and 4, though? And importantly, who's going to have DRS as we run down in turn 5? It's going to be Strakasaur as we have to lead up the hill. Whose rear wing is going to open? It's going to be Alexis Feast as we blast down the hill in turn 5. Ozan also there into the background looking to get the move done. But Strakasaur doing a great job of holding that inside line. Able to take advantage. That's an Aston Martin round. That's Delta, who's been having a great race. I think having a big incident there. Alexis Feast has disconnected from the session. So that was your leader for a large part of this race, who has now had an incident. So again, big issues with connection here, but Strakasaur now leads. Ollie Jelly has found his way up into 4th. Kendricks is now looking to make a move for 6th. But yeah, what happened there? As as just saw Delta go super deep there. Not sure if that was lag. Alexis Feast, apparently his PlayStation just shut off. So, literal power failure for Alexis Feast as Ollie Jelly now all the way up into 3rd after starting from the back of the field, and that'll be net 2nd. Zrowski also with a nice recovery. He's back up into 5th after having a pretty poor first part of the race. Viperize now back up into 8th. Owen looking to make the move on Kendricks as he'll look to the inside. That's Masquerade now diving into the pit, so potentially picking up a little bit of damage. Ozan will retake the lead, at least on track. But again, now is the important thing is how much is he going to end up holding up Strakasaur, who again looking to have a good race here. Again, just waiting on Alexis Beast to get back online. I'll definitely go ahead and check as yes, Alexis Beast Still currently showing as offline. Straxor, though, with DRS looking around the outside of Ozan, who's going to defend it pretty aggressively. Straxor, though, looking to get that cutback. Ozan going to go defensive as we make our way into turn number 7. Petrosky back up into what will become the top 3. And now it's a breakaway a little bit between Strakosaur and Ollie Jelly. Viperize, though, finding some pace. He's now up into 6, as it has looking to have a great recovery. Again, still waiting on Alexis to try to get back online to resend him an invite. Again, hopefully he can make it back. Delta has recovered up into 9th after being tagged at some point there. Again, not sure entirely what happened with that incident. Of course, we'll slide up into 8th, again, ahead of Alexis Beast. But now Strakosaur and Ozan and Ollie Jelly looking to make a breakaway from Zrosky behind, and Ozan going to finally dive into the pits here. So that'll release the rest of the pack to go flying after one another. It's going to be a yellow flag for Dawn, who has had a bit of a half spin there. Or leading on his own. Kendrick's also with a nice race. He's up into 4th, though under pressure from Stratton. Owen as well having a solid go of things. As again, there is Alexis Beast, so now I can re-invite. So hopefully Alexis Beast is going to be able to recover. He is currently running 10th and just off the tail of his pack, as that's Formula Jonah being forced a little bit wide through the hairpin. As what just happened? What just happened? What's going on? I don't know what happened. Is that a me issue? What? What's... Okay, I think that's a me issue. Okay, that is a me issue. All right. Well, that'll be very confusing for the stream. But, yeah, the stream has disconnected. So I'll miss a little bit of action here. Again, hopefully we can comfortably get back in there without causing too much of an issue. But yeah, very odd there. And again, I don't know what's going on there, but lap 22 of 23. And it looks like we will be coming back here. As now we are back. So again, apologies for that. Ollie Jelly still with the lead. I'll go ahead and get everything from back up here. We'll go tires, that way you can see that. But I guess while we were gone, Zrosky and Kendricks were able to claw back a little bit of an edge. And of course, Owen and Viperize not too far off the fight as well. So once again, got a bit of BRS string going. Ozan, of course, coming out there down in 15th. Let's see. And Alexis Beast has dropped all the way down 18. Has dropped to 18th. Okay, that just must be a me issue. That would look to be a Haas up ahead, running a bit wide as well. Again, hopefully that timing tower does update, because that's very odd from Alexis. Pancakes picks up 3 seconds for track limits. But again, going to be very interesting as this race continues as to which tire is going to become more and more advantageous. I'd imagine it's going to be the hard, as we'll cross the line with 11 to go. We'll see if Straxor has a move down here into turn 1, closing within 2 tenths, closing within a tenth and a half. He'll take a peek to the inside, and by the time we get into the braking zone, the turn 1's going to be Straxor with the edge. Ollie Jelly, though, looking to get it back up the inside. He'll have the inside line through turn 2 and 3 as they bang wheels. It's going to be Ollie Jelly with the advantage there. Again, just look to be more hard racing on that one as Ozan picks up the fast lap for McLaren. Again, this would have to get up into the top 10 for that to mean anything. There's Kendricks with a bit of a brave move there. A bit later, I think the car's ahead, a bit braver on the brakes than he was expecting. Kendricks, though, going to pick up a 3-second time penalty for track limits, but I think he can appeal that one, as it did seem to be due to contact. There's Viperize, though, looking at the inside of him now. As, again, so many cars now all in with a shout at the win, all the way down to 9th in Delta Ring, all with the opportunity to jump back up into this fight. Once again, yeah, Alexis showing an 18th for some reason. Even though I think he is effectively 10th. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. As, yeah, it does seem to be showing up as P10 on his wheel. Actually, well, I can't tell if that's P10 or P18. definitely going to be interesting to consider and keep an eye on that as this race continues. We'll start lap 24. Traxor again going to be closing up with DRS advantage, as well as he's got Zrosky and Owen right on his tail. They're going to hold back this time round. As again, 4 cars, all within about half a second for the lead here. Here comes Zrosky looking down the inside of Strakasaur, who's now going to be pinched to that inside corner. Looks to me maybe a little bit of contact there. Yellow flag in Sector 1. What's that for? That is for, I believe, Alexis Beast, who had a bit of a half spin there. So again, definitely going to be interesting to see what exactly happened there. But there's Owen now looking down the inside of Zrosky. Is Strakasaur able to defend, though having lost a little bit of time there. Owen as well going to yield to Zrosky, who again maybe going to take a half peek to the inside there as he ran through turn number 8. But I guess this is an important time for Ollie Jelly to start to try and drop the hammer and pull away. You can see that gap at the front start to open up, and of course Ollie Jelly does have that time penalty that he does need to manage of about 3 seconds. Straxor really has to get a move on, and if you're Zrosky and Owen, I definitely recommend just kind of holding back for right now, because your best opportunity is to, more than likely, as Delta finds a way past Jonah at the tail of this field. That's a car going very deep. That's Alexis, who seemed to have a major issue, and that's going to bring out the safety car with 9 laps left to go. What happened to Jonah, or to Alexis there? As everybody going to dive into the pits, as the safety car is out there. As you can see, all the drivers up here in the top 10 looking to dive into the pits, likely all having soft tires set. This, of course, will bring Ozan back into the race, but if everybody's opting for soft tires here, which I imagine they will, it's going to be a big question of who pops out. Victor Flores Jr. saying he's played this before. Yes, this is F124. You see everybody again starting to dive into the pits. It does look like actually God Pancakes opting to stay out, so the Aston Martin going to take the lead. The McLaren of Ozan will come out in P2. Zrosky saying the game put him on hards. As Zrosky, I think, potentially forgetting to change that tire compound. But yeah, Zrosky very upset as he's on the hards he started this race on. But Pancakes opting to stay on hards, Ozan opting to stay on mediums. How should I play those guys? I can let you know after the stream, but just since I'm trying to figure out what is going on. But yeah, Formula Jonah able to send an invite back. Thank you, Jonah. Yes, Pancakes in his Sykes in his racing group 3. Yeah, definitely interesting to kind of consider there, but it is Pancakes in the lead. Zrosky actually diving into the pits here as he'll actually pick up an additional 10-second penalty. So his day gets even worse. As now, in addition to slapping on softs, his race basically over as he picks up that 10-second. And yeah, big mistake there from him. Also had to get his front wing change, which he did not do on that first stop. And is now going to go all the way to the back of the grid. Yeah, let's not. That's a race, but if their intent wrecks are at least a race ban, if not more. Yeah. Safety car is in this lap, though, so that will give Pancakes control. But, of course, going to come under a lot of threat immediately. So I guess there's a couple of drivers to keep an eye on here. Strakasaur there in 4th. Viperize in 6th. Some guy in 7th. Highest drivers with... But it's Pancakes and Ozan with control. Of course, Pancakes trying to keep a bit of a hot pace here. And he'll get us back underway. Again, we'll jump on board. Does time it well, though. So we'll get back underway with about, 7 laps to go. Ollie Jelly looking to make it no time. Dispatching of Ozan. He'll slide down the inside into turn 1 and take over P2. And again, looking to, I think, do the same thing with Pancakes. As Rusty picks up another penalty here for track limits. Formula Jonas dropped down to 17th as Ollie Jelly finds his way up into the lead. There's a car running very wide in the background. Who was that? That seemed to go off into space. I didn't quite catch. As, again, you can see the Aston Martin Pancake getting backed up there. Ozan slides up into 3rd. Strakasaur moves up into 2nd. I think going to be looking to find his way past Ozan rather quickly. As we run now into turn number 8. That's very wide from Pancakes. Owen picks up 3 seconds. Some guy now up into 5th temporarily. We're going to end up still being side by side with the V-Carb. As they make their way up over the hill. But of course, Ozan has now allowed Ollie Jelly to make a little bit of a breakaway here at the front. You can see the Aston Martin of Pancakes being the cork in the bottle for all the drivers behind. And there is Alex Beast disconnecting. There's Delta, who's gone very wide. Delta's had a big incident and has ended up on the inside grass there. So not sure exactly what happened to the Aston Martin, but she's fallen all the way down to 17th now. Ollie Jelly, though, with a comfortable lead. DRS going to be activated here. Yellow flag in Sector 3, that's for Viperize, who's had some sort of incident down the pit straight, as his front wing is now gone. So not sure entirely what happened there. There's a Ferrari of Dawn off, so chaos behind. And I think that's largely just from everybody stacking up behind the Aston Martin of Pancakes. As there's Delta now out. There's a Red Bull going around. That's Stratting not able to get on the power cleanly. Again, just chaos here in the closing stages. There's Abney OK making his way past Pancakes, though Pancakes still looking to battle it. They will lose the position to Gabby Cho as well. But I think the question now is how big is this gap going to be at the end of this race? The good thing here is that there definitely were segments of good racing, as Pancakes once again just out of position now 3 wide, especially with the driver who is on so much older tires. Replace him in the middle, certainly going to be in danger there. His rear wing's going to open. There's going to be Kendrick's looking to make it down the inside. He'll get that move done on both Stratting and Pancakes, who now officially is outside that top 10. Strakasaur's also found a way past Ozan. And again, going to be looking to hold on to that, try and keep that gap to that 3-second mark. See Owen and Some Guy battling there in the background. Some Guy finding his way down the inside. Can he hold on to it on the exit? Going to be slightly cleaner for Owen. So at least be side by side running into turn number 8. Going to be the Salver with the inside, with Owen able to carry the speed around the outside. Of course, Viperize diving the pits. He'll try to steal that fastest lap point away. For a number of drivers, it's going to be a story of what could have been. Formula Jonah picks up 3 seconds. Once again, Ozan sticking with Strakasaur here. We'll blast up the hill and down into turn 1 again. The gap sits at 2.1 seconds with 4 laps to go. So how much is Strakasaur potentially kept in the tank? Gabicho sets a new fastest lap of the race. It's going to be Strakasaur again, holding on to turn 1. Some Guy finding a wave around the outside of Owen into turn 1 as well. And you see Gabicho right on the tail. He'll find a wave past Owen. Of course, had to run a little bit wider than he might have wanted. through that first corner. Will be 3 to go this next time. Again, you see so many close battles on track. DRS Stratton getting past Maestro. Masquerade also finding a way past Zrosky. Again, you can see that gap starting to open up here. So I think Ollie potentially, carrying a bit more downforce than Strakasaur. And see that gap starting to open up, but through that braking zone, you can see just how much time Strakasaur was able to pick up. We'll see how much more speed he can potentially carry in here down onto the pit straight, but that gap again starting to open up, 2.4 seconds. So certainly going to be a tight one as we get to the end of this race. ERS deployed from Strakasaur. The Ozan going to be closing in on him. Same thing in the background. Yeah, I got Gabicho closing in on some guy. And Gabicho finding the inside. Also, Avenue OK getting it done on Owen, who's missing front wing end plate there. Potentially some contact with some guy down there at turn 1 the previous lap. Again, been plenty of action in this one. So mouth starting to dry out a little bit. But Ollie Jelly, you can see, kind of continue to gain that advantage. That's Owen out of this race. That's Owen with a big incident down there at turn 8. Again, I think having some contact there as he is now out. So that's both of the carbs with rather odd incidents. And now both cars out of this race. Ollie Jelly has now opened up that 3-second gap. As Owen now out. But it's going to be 2 to go here, and Ollie Jelly with an opportunity to go last to first and win this race. As that gap now right at that 3-second mark. I'm going to be very interesting to see what the decisions are here. It's going to be Ozan looking down the inside of Strakasaur. How much will he fight it as we cross the line with 2 to go? It's like he won't. He'll just kind of hold back for right now, potentially trying to work with him with that DRS advantage. Of course, is going to lose a little bit of time here in the corners, but does have his teammate of Gabicho as a bit of a rear gunner. Zrosky, once again, picking up a time penalty. Strakasaur now looking down the inside with DRS. He'll get that move done down the inside. Again, just going to lose that little bit of time, though, on exit. You can see that gap drop to 2.6, then open up, but it's a great exit there from Strakasaur to be able to give himself a chance here in the closing stages. And you can see Strakasaur now potentially starting to turn it on a little bit. As you can see that gap dropping now to 4/10. And of course you got some guy, and Avenue OK and Stratting all in the mix as well. Viperize going to pick up 10-second for speeding in the pits. I'm guessing that will be just the end of his race. He'll retire in the pits. So it'll be the end of his race after stealing that fastest lap. But going to be 1 to go this time round. And you see just how much time Strakasaur has picked up this last lap. But has that mid as well, Ollie Jelly just trying to pick up some ERS here to try and break away when Strakasaur will have no chance at catching the rest of the field. DRS for both the McLaren and the Williams behind. Gabicho and Ozan side by side, and Gabicho may have just screwed over his teammate. That's contact between Ozan and Strakasaur, as that was a piece of McLaren front wing that we saw fly off, as there is no front wing end plate on that McLaren car. Gabicho and Masquerade pick up 3-second time penalties, and Gabicho may have just screwed over his teammate out of a win here. As there is Gabicho, I think, potentially just trying to let his teammate now. Is Gabicho going to let Strakasaur back through? As that got now up to 3.5 seconds to the car in front. As a bit of chaos there with Williams into turn 1. As Gabicho with a run. And that could have just decided this race. There's a couple of corners left to go, and I don't think there's enough time. It's going to have to be a big run through this final sector for Strakasaur, or a big mistake from Ollie Jelly. Just a couple of corners left to go, and it's the Ferrari coming up over the hill first. And it's going to be Ollie Jelly to the line. Can Strachosaur close it down? I don't think he's going to. It's going to be Ollie Jelly win it. Or no, it's going to be... Oh no, it is Strachosaur winning for Ferrari. I think. Yeah, I think it is Strachosaur winning for Ferrari. Did Ollie Jelly may have had 6 seconds there. I think Ollie Jelly had 6 seconds, so it is still Strachosaur winning. It's some guy in second, Avenue K in third, followed by Ollie Jelly, and then Ozan. Was very odd, very odd finish, very odd race, if I'm being completely honest. As a number of incidents there, Ollie Jelly still going from last, even to finish fourth, with a great result. Again, I'm still waiting to see some of that timing tower to figure out exactly what happened. As it was 6 seconds for Ollie Jelly, so that is what led to Avenue K, or to Strachosaur taking victory. Some guy second, Avenue K third. So ultimately, Gaucho not screwing over his teammate, but ended up being very, very close to the line. Of course, we'll have to see what happens with Stewart's decisions. But yeah, Strachosaur, some guy from 6th, some guy from 7th, followed by Avenue K, Ollie Jelly, Ozan, Stratting, Gaucho, Kendricks, DRS Maestro, and Don. Round out your top 10. Of course, Bastelet picked up by Bryce, 17-7. But yeah, definitely a lot of stuff to discuss after this one. But yeah, it was a very chaotic one. Certainly not a clean one. And again, hoping that changes next time out. Is definitely need a little bit more brains across the field here from a number. Yeah, thankfully it's not too many drivers. But yeah, definitely was an odd one in that. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Again, next weekend is Baku, which again will definitely be an interesting one. I think if we can get past lap 1, we should be okay. But of course, we'll have to wait and see on that one. But yeah, definitely stay tuned for Group 3 later today. That, of course, will be Gaucho given commentary for that one. And I believe potentially Owen as well. We'll see what happens there. But again, hopefully you enjoyed. If you are interested in joining races, definitely let us know in chat. Right now, I'll kind of keep up for... I'll actually go ahead and throw their link in chat. But if you'll give me a moment here. Right. Go ahead and throw it in chat so it's here for you all at the end if you are interested. Yeah, just as a bit of a heads up, we got Group 2 on Group 1 and Le Mans Ultimate on Saturdays, and then Group 2 and 3 on Sundays. And for Group 1, Group 2, Group 3, those are based on pace. But if you're interested in joining, definitely feel free to... Nope, that is the wrong link. Nope. Again, apologies here. I should be getting this. Work with me here. There we go. So that link should hopefully work for you. You'll be able to join us. Definitely need quick time trials, and then hopefully can't get you in. But hope you enjoyed that one. Of course, congratulations to the Williams of Strachosaur on picking up that victory. Until next time, we will see you later.